Take two actors, right? One is on Neighbours and does guest appearances on comedy shows and on Dancing with the Stars and things like that. The other one is hasn't got any jobs right now. They're both exactly the same talent level. Who do you think is going to be offered a job? The one who's available?
Yeah.
Like they go, hey, I'm available. Could you want to give me a job? They go, no, well, let's give the one who's busy. Look how busy they are. They're doing heaps. People want to give more work to the people who are already working.
Scarcity.
It's crazy, right?
In 1837, Horace Mann created the education system, a system at the time designed to pump out factory workers and professors. The same system that is still being used today in the 21st century. Now, Mann's system is backfiring. We are being moulded by the same industrial system that has existed for close to 200 years. That system delivers us into a digital economy that has no need of our outdated skills. This isn't our teachers' fault. This isn't the government's fault. This is due to a rapidly changing world full of technology and unforeseen circumstances. And us Gen Zs are caught in the middle. Welcome to the Driven Young Podcast, the podcast for stressed, overwhelmed young Australians, teaching you practical life skills you can implement now to set yourself up in life. And now your host, Byron Dempsey.
Welcome back to the Driven Young Podcast, and today, for the first time on this show, I am joined by stand-up comedian Simon Taylor. Simon Taylor is a Melbourne-born comedian who by the age of 24 became a writer for The Tonight Show with Jay Leno in Los Angeles. Since then, he has written for Sean Micallef's Mad as Hell on the ABC and Magic for Humans on Netflix, along with his own specials. In this episode, we discuss what Simon did after high school, how he quit his job to pursue his passion, which is comedy, why you need to take risks while you're young, how he built his brand as a comedian, the future of the workforce, his number one piece of advice to younger people, and so much more. I really enjoyed this episode. Simon and I share very similar views on life, which I had no idea about going into this interview. We really drill into one important point this entire episode, and I hope you understand that by the end. As per usual, feel free to DM myself or Simon on Instagram if you enjoy the show. You can follow myself or Simon via the links in the show notes. And don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts if you enjoy the show. That really helps me out, helps the podcast reach more people like yourself. I'd really appreciate that. Now, over to Simon. Simon, welcome so much to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on.
Really excited. Haven't had a Comic-Con before, so I think it's
man, the pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. So yeah, this is going to be a really fun episode. I think we're just going to go into the industry. We're going to go into, I guess, public speaking, fears, what mistakes you've made that you wish people could learn from. And before we get into that, give a bit of clarity about who you are. What did you do after high school and what are you currently up to with your life and all the stuff in between?
Yeah, so I guess I was always like a drama kid in high school, and I always saw that as like more of a hobby or an extracurricular thing. And so when I went to uni, I studied science. I studied psychology.
Really?
Yeah, I did psych for 3 years. And
do you think the drama thing is because you couldn't see yourself making money in it and that's why it was a hobby?
Yeah, like how do you go to seek.com and, drama job?
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't exist,
Yeah.
but you can find, psychologist, or you could find lab technician, or even anything in some kind of technical industry exists as a job. But in drama, what you'd find is like, you can be a receptionist at a theater, or PR for MTC theater company or Sydney theater company or whatever. So it doesn't have acting job on seek.com type thing. So I guess for that reason, it's, you may not see it as a viable career option because you're like, that's a very alternative pathway.
So we say it's non-linear.
It's definitely non-linear. Yeah, it's
So the
not
example
do the study, get the job.
Well, that's exactly.
That seems quite linear, and
Yeah.
that doesn't happen in performing arts.
Which is, where you get that fear. It's like, well, how do I do it?
Right.
There's no clear pathway.
Exactly. And even after you've been doing it for a while, you wonder how you came down that pathway. You're like, wow, that was windy. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And because it's changing constantly, because you're being responsive to the market and you're being responsive to media and things like that. So what was true of being a stand-up comedian like I am 20 years ago, 30 years ago, isn't true anymore. The older comics I speak to are like, oh, it's not the same anymore. You used to just get on TV and then you'd sell tickets to your show and it was great. But now TV doesn't really sell tickets in the way that it used to. You know, oh, you need your social media following, you need your podcast, and you need your database, and you got to understand how pixels work because you need to track people's data and find the exact order. Like there's so much more minutia and so many more details to understanding marketing because it's getting progressively more complex.
Yeah, and this was a question, I think I'll bring it up later, which is we'll get into like marketing and how important marketing is in a creative industry. Like, do we need to be a marketer first and a comedian second, or do we be a comedian first and a marketer second?
Right.
Like, I think we can get into that, but I will pull us back to your story. So you went and you were studying science, were you?
Yeah. So I did psychology, and I was also working with kids with autism as a behavioral therapist at the time. There's senior psychologist, and then there was junior therapist, which allows you to do the behavioral therapy with the kids with autism before you complete your degree, and then you can progress. So I was going down that route, really. And that is quite linear, finish your degree, and then you get promoted to senior psychologist, and then you work the cases, and you decide on the therapy programs for the kids. So I had a pathway. But then as I was, working and studying, I still needed to perform. It was just sort of part of my personality. It's how I felt valued. It's how I felt.
It's when you felt alive.
Exactly. It's what I was most excited to do. It was always like, all right, let me just get through this workday so I can go do the real thing I love.
Yeah.
And that would be, being a singer-songwriter, improv comedy, doing magic tricks, spoken word poetry, just trying to find some outlet. And then I found stand-up, and that was the best fit for me. It was just so enjoyable. If you have a bad gig, it's all your fault. But if you have a good gig, it's all your glory. So that clicked for me, and that just came from trying lots of different things as a hobby, while I was on this career path to be a psychologist. And then eventually I was kind of making enough money as a stand-up and getting these big jobs, writing for big TV shows in the States and writing for shows here as well, that allowed me to just do it full time. Because of that, I jumped off that pathway to be a psychologist.
Yeah.
I went where the energy was. I went where my excitement was. Like, imagine I could be a stand-up full-time. Oh, wait, I can. All right, well, I better do it.
Yeah.
You better do it if it excites you, because the psych thing just seemed like, oh, if I make no decisions in life, I'll end up as a psychologist, because that's the path I'm on. But
and here's the thing. Being a psychologist, for you, probably wasn't that bad. It just wasn't that good either. It was kind of like this in-between. It's like, look, I enjoy it, but it doesn't light me up the same way stand-up does.
It would have been fine. I probably would have been pretty good at it. I find it stimulating and interesting, but I wouldn't be daydreaming about it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go home and go, wow, how do I make that therapy even better? But I do that with stand-up. I will always think about stand-up. I'll be on a train somewhere going, I wonder if that's a joke. Yeah, there's a joke here somewhere. Always doing that. My brain is geared for that, and my brain's geared for a few other things. But it's the most rewarding for sure.
Yeah, and you mentioned a great thing. Like, you would go to work and then you would go and do what you really love.
Exactly.
Which is so common. And I guess, whatever you want to call it, is kind of been referred to as like the side hustle now.
Right.
You've got your job and then you've got your side hustle. And I guess the goal is to make your side hustle your main job, which is what I've just kind of done with this podcast. So I'm full-time on the podcast as of this year. But for the first, 2 years, 18 months, I was earning no money.
Yes.
I was just doing it because I loved it.
Yes.
Same sort of thing as you.
Yeah.
And so I think very few people can achieve that, where they can transition into their full-time side hustle, so to speak. Or I think I heard a thing, it's like you work full-time on your job and part-time on your passion or something, until you can go full-time on your passion and part-time on your job, and then you can just go full-time on your passion or whatever, something like that.
Yeah, it is a transition, but yeah, you really got to get to a point. You actually have to leap into it.
It's uncomfortable, right?
It's not a super smooth transition. It's not as simple as I, ticked over just enough dollars to quit my job and be a stand-up. There were periods where it was terrible. I was eating like bowls of peas, like visiting mum and dad for a meal, not telling them how badly I was doing, selling my DVD box set of Seinfeld just to make rent that month, being $50 short. Like it was not this smooth transition, because what I realize is if I'm putting X amount of energy, let's say 80% of my energy into a job that I didn't want to be my future at that point, that's 80% of my energy I'm not spending into making money out of my passion.
Opportunity cost, right?
Exactly. So you say to yourself, all right, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to put that energy into making it as a stand-up. Now, the problem is, how long does that take?
Well,
a month, 2 months? Maybe you're 2 years in, you're doing well, but then you have a dip. And that is going to happen, and that's going to happen throughout your whole career.
For sure.
I'm really lucky I get to hang out with, my comedy idols from when I was a kid. And I see them now, and they have rough years now as well. They're 20, 30 years in to the game, and they're like, oh, yep, that show didn't sell well, or I wasn't able to get on TV much this year, or my show got canned, or I lost my radio job. And they have a dip as well. But because they've been doing it so long, they know, all right, where can I make money? All right, I'm doing cruise ships this year, or okay, I'm going to do a podcast for ABC. I have friends who are in the industry because they have learned to adapt and learned to put their energy into making enough money from their passion rather than assuming, well, if I'm going to be a stand-up and I don't make money, then I'm out, Like, well, you put the time in. And it is tough. It is somewhat of a risk and a luxury. I was a single dude in my 20s. Yeah, I can take that risk. I can pour...
This is my point when you're young.
Yes, exactly.
You can take the risk because you've got no kids, no mortgage, no loan.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're single as well, you're never going to have a time where you can have more time to yourself and take more risk, because if you eat it,
what's the worst that could happen?
You move back home?
And not everyone has this situation. I knew that I could go back to mum and dad's. Like, I really didn't want to, but I could.
If you had to.
If I had to, right? And some young people don't have that. That's fair enough. But perhaps you have relatives or friends or things like that. And also, artists are pretty good at looking after artists. Like, I've let artists stay in my house for a month, while they get their stuff sorted. But the way I looked at it is, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a stand-up. Okay, I can't pay rent this month. I'm going to have to get a job at a, cafe for a few weeks, get it, cover my rent. All right, let's try this again.
That's how it goes.
And yeah, exactly. And what I would have to do for festivals, so in Australia, a big market for comedians is doing festivals. Adelaide Fringe Festival, Melbourne Comedy Festival, Sydney Comedy Festival, Perth Fringe. There's a whole bunch of them. But there's registration. So for Melbourne Comedy Festival, I'd have to pay $500 in November for a festival that doesn't happen till, March. So in November, I'm like, oh my God, where am I going to get the $500 for registration? Oh, and poster money and a deposit on the venue and promo. So, okay, I got to find $1,000. I'm also doing Adelaide, so there's $1,000 there. Oh, I'm also doing Brisbane. So all of a sudden, come, end of the year, I need to find $3,000 to register for festivals that I won't see money from
you're not going to
for another 5 months.
Yeah, you're not going to return.
And I don't even know if I'll make enough, because who knows if I sell tickets or not. So I would go to a bank and take $5,000 out, or loan, get a $5,000 loan, and then be in debt for that $5,000, and just desperately try sell tickets to make my money back. And I'd make just enough money back to pay off the loan and be broke again. So as a stand-up, I was getting by, like being in debt, then getting myself out of debt, being in debt, getting myself out of debt. And it took years and years to just no longer need to go into debt. What was lucky for me is that after, I think, 6 years or something like that, 6 or 7 years, I got signed by a management company, A-List Entertainment. They've got big comedians like Kitty Flanagan and Carl Barron and Akmal and Arj Barker. And now they take the risks. So when it comes to festivals, they pay all the registration.
But they only took the risk because you've got 6 years of experience. So they go, this guy's clearly good at
Well,
what he
they saw
does.
I was selling.
Yeah.
That was the thing. They saw like, oh yeah, he's getting enough ticket sales for the risk to be worth it. They know they're not going to lose money on me. And they never have. They've never lost money on me. But they probably saw how motivated I was. And I still have that instinct.
Potential. They can see the potential inside of you.
Yeah, even the potential, but also the evidence for that potential.
Yeah.
Because you can't just go, oh, I'm guessing they'll be a good comic. I'm guessing they'll be, you need some evidence. What have they done to prove that they have potential? Well, they've hustled themselves. They've backed themselves. They've put their own money and their own debt on the line to prove that they can, they can do this. They've done it for years on end. They, hustle. They are all over social media. You need to prove it to, to people that you're the real deal. And that's not, look at me, I'm amazing. It's, no, I may not be amazing, but I'm dedicated. I'm persistent. I'm in for the long haul. I'm a solid worker. And that is what I think, A-List saw in me. It wasn't just, okay, he's funny. So what? There's heaps of funny people. Heaps. It's, he's developed his own following. He must be self-motivated.
Being funny is the entry level, right?
Exactly. You can't not be funny.
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
Now you're funny. Funny and what? Funny and interesting. Funny and super marketable. Maybe you've got like a movie star quality. Some comics have that. Funny and intellectual. I have some friends who have these really smart podcasts and they're hilarious as well. They're like smart goofballs, so they've got this great demographic and so I think that would happen in other industries as well.
It does.
You're good at your job.
This is what I say.
But what else?
The degree is just the bare minimum.
Yes.
People go to university, they'll just get a degree and they go, okay, now I get a job. Well, what else have you done? Did you join the societies? Did you do internships? Did you do work experience? Did you volunteer your time?
Yeah.
My sister just graduated high school, so they've been looking at different options. They were at a careers festival event or whatever. And they went up to like one of the science departments and they said, if you don't have like, you coached netball teams, if you did this, you volunteered your time, everything I just mentioned, they're not even going to look at you.
Yes.
Like the degree is just the bare minimum.
Yes, exactly.
But the degree's so hard, it's a bare minimum.
Yes.
Same with you. Being funny is a bare minimum. You have to stack it with other things, other qualities and values that you bring to the table.
Yeah, you like, I like saying, imagine you are an employer looking at resumes and you get two in and they're exactly the same degree. Okay, they both tick. Now, how do you decide between them?
Yeah.
So you as an applicant have to think, all right, what is going to set me apart? Yes, I have a degree in engineering. I also have work experience in this field. I also, have a really, popular blog about the latest in engineering. Just put everything in there. And then they're going to look at it and go, well, this person's got the degree. This person's got a degree. And 10 other interesting things.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be crazy things. It can just be like, I play AFL. I play sport. It's like,
I'm a team player. Yeah.
I play AFL. Or what team do you support? Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
a big thing people want is team culture.
Yeah.
Even if you're qualified for the job, if you're not going to fit and suit the team,
Yeah.
you're probably not going to last. They don't want you in.
It's actually a really good point to couple your degree with something in general, right? Because our parents' generation had it in terms of get a degree, you get that job.
Yeah.
Right? But there's plenty of people with a degree in that job. Our generation need at least 2 layers now. So for me, as someone who's a stand-up comedian trying to get on TV and radio, I can say, I studied psychology, now I'm a comedian. People go, wow, those are 2 really cool layers, right? My partner, Lucy, is a visual artist, so she's applying for exhibitions. And heaps of people are great at drawing and painting. Heaps.
It's the standard.
Right. But what she says, she goes, I studied linguistics. I have a master's in linguistics, and now I do visual art, and I couple those two disciplines. And the galleries go, wow, this is really interesting. So what are you going to couple your degree with is excellent question.
It could even be, let's say you're an artist. It's like,
yeah,
look, I'm an artist, but I actually did a gap year to China when I was younger, and now my art is influenced by Chinese people that the host family that I stayed with or something.
Yeah.
It's like,
I really want to hear more about that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
right?
so think of the 2 layers at least with your degree, because that certainly helped me. Studying psychology has been really valuable in my career as a stand-up, because I'm not just a funny guy. It's like, funny guy, oh, he has a background in psychology. That's interesting. That has gotten me a bit more attention. And it also, going to uni taught me how to be academic, how to write, how to be disciplined, how to get things in on deadlines, how to think critically about things. So none of that was lost just because I'm in a different career. It's actually really important for our generation to, find your core path of education and add it to something unique, like a trip.
Well, I think with your story specifically, what breaks my heart is when I hear someone in your position who wouldn't have taken that leap to be a comedian.
Right.
And they would have stuck with something that they were comfortable with, but they weren't in love with it.
Right.
And when's the best time to take that leap? It's when you're young, when you have no responsibilities, when you can move home to your parents if it fails, or you can move into with friends. You don't have kids.
Yeah.
This is the best time to taste and explore as many things as you can.
Yeah.
Because that way you can figure out what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a good question that I ask myself a lot is, what's the worst that can happen? So I take a bank loan out and I don't sell enough tickets. All right, I can't afford rent. All right, I'm going to move back with mum and dad. Going to get a job at a cafe. 3 months later, I've, moved back out. I will have made enough to move back out. Try again next year.
Yeah.
Like, that is the worst that can happen, which is inconvenient. And that's it.
Yeah,
really, that's it. It's inconvenient at most. So that was my position. So you certainly have to ask yourself, okay, what's the worst that can happen? Move back with mum and dad, get a job at the local supermarket for a maximum of 3-4 months, whatever, until I can reset and do it again. And you can do that for 5-6 years, and then it all falls into place. And it might all fall into place for 5 years. Then you have some bad luck, and then you got to go get a side hustle to pay the rent, and then you're back into it. But it's kind of like, as a freelancer, it's kind of like surfing in that you're sitting there waiting for a wave to come. Right, that's your big opportunity, and you hope you're skilled enough. You've done the work, you've trained in whatever it is, to be able to catch that wave, stay on that wave for a long time. Eventually that wave will go and you have to paddle back out and sit and wait for another one. And sometimes it's not your fault. Sometimes you're sitting there for 20 minutes waiting for a wave, 30 minutes, an hour, you're freezing, you're like, where's this wave? That happens in every industry. Like, when's my next gig? Oh man, I haven't had a gig for a couple of weeks. When is my next? I have to be patient. I'm getting hungry. I don't have much money coming in.
Yeah.
And that is legit. Like, you will go through bouts of downtime, but being willing to take the risk and understand that's part of the deal. You will have times where no wave comes, and being able to handle it and being able to get back in the water is important.
I think I've said this a few times. People who are successful at what they do, it's not often that they were smarter or they worked harder. It's they took the risk.
Right.
Because taking risks is where it's at.
Yeah.
It's getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's very easy to not take a risk because you don't have to do anything.
Yeah. I didn't know this difference until recently. There's a difference between risk and consequence. Risk is, what are the odds something bad will happen, and consequence is how bad. Right, so a good example is Free Solo. Have you seen that movie about
the rock climbing?
Yeah, so he was saying, it's high consequence. If I fall off this mountain without a rope, high consequence. I'm dead.
Yeah,
right. High, but he says it's low risk, as in the odds of me falling off are really low because I've practiced this hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. I'm a really good climber. I've, gone over it heaps of times. My risk is low, okay? What I encourage is moderate risk, low consequence. So you're like, look, there is a risk that I don't make enough money this year as a stand-up. That's a risk. Let's say it's a 10% risk or a 20% risk. But the consequence is, oh well, just get a...
That's what you said before.
Yeah, get another job,
Yeah.
and then start again. So that's a good way to make yourself feel a little safer with risk.
Yeah.
And going, oh, it's such a big risk. What if? Yeah, what if? What if? What is the worst that can happen?
It's a great point. Like, I love that. The risk versus consequences. And
Yeah.
to preference what I said before, when is the lowest amount of consequences you're going to have? When
Yeah.
you're young.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
you can just go get a job at a cafe.
Yeah. Yeah.
A university degree is always going to be there. If you take a risk and it fails,
Yeah.
the consequences are you're now 21 instead of 19 in a degree. Who cares?
That's fine. And the consequence is also, oh, I've got a more interesting background now.
Yeah.
That's not even a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I've learned how to critically think
Yeah.
when it comes to research and academia. It's great. It's actually a really, really tiny risk and tiny consequence.
Exactly.
It's the worst that can happen is that it's too much for you in a particular time in your life, and being aware of that. But that's a case by case.
So when is a high risk, high consequence? I would think if you wanted to start a business when you're 40 with 2 children and another one on the way,
Yeah,
and
big
you've got
time.
a mortgage and you've got a car loan,
in an industry you don't know anything about,
and you're
you've got
yeah, and so you
got no passion in as well. Like
Yeah.
you've,
even
there's
if
a
you
lot
are
of factors.
passionate about it, and maybe this is something you've wanted to do for the past 20 years, but you decided not to take that risk when you're younger, and
Yes,
now you want to take
exactly.
it when you're 35 or 40 and you've got kids, or 45 or whatever, and now
Yeah.
you're going, well, I can't afford to take this risk because
Yes.
if it doesn't pay out, what are my kids going to eat? I
Yes.
can't let my wife take all the burden,
Yeah, exactly.
or I can't let my husband take the burden.
Yeah,
And so that's where it's like, that's why I'm such a big advocate of pushing this now.
yeah,
Because while you're young, you have this window, 18 to 25 is this beautiful window where you can take massive risks because the consequences are so low.
yes, exactly. Yeah, there's certainly something to be said about when you're older. It's harder to recover as well, because you are less employable as you get older. Like, it's true. Like, how often do you see someone in their 60s working at KFC or whatever? It's not a job that they would give to someone that age. So know that this idea of just picking up a job is actually, for a limited time. For when you're in your 20s, or when you're a teenager in your 20s, you can do that. You can just pick up jobs because people are willing to give you jobs at that age. But as you get older, you do become less employable.
And it's also, from society standards, if you're 35 working at a cafe or doing this, people will look down on you, even though they
Right.
don't know what your situation is.
Right.
But when you're 22, no one's going to question it.
Yeah. It certainly depends. It depends on your position, your life situation, of course.
Oh, look, if you're
Yeah.
if you're working there because you want to, you're pursuing what you need your supplement and income.
Yeah, for sure.
Great.
You're studying or something like
Exactly,
that.
yeah.
Totally. But yeah, look, there's definitely like some even more practical things. Like if you're in your 50s and you want a loan for, a house, a second mortgage, or for a business, banks will be less likely to give you a loan if you don't have a lot of, work years left. So they're like, well, why are we giving someone who's 60 a loan for $200,000 to start this business?
For a 40-year loan.
Yeah, what are they going to, like, for the next 15 years, they're going to work? Like, keep in mind, that there are legitimate, practical reasons that it is better to take these risks young.
Yeah.
Not just, it's better because you're young because of low risk. It's actually harder to do. It's more risk when you're older, and it's tougher.
Yeah, everything's harder.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of a quote which I reference quite a bit on this show, and it's a quote, top regret of the dying, which is, I wish I would have lived a life more true to myself
Right.
rather than lived a life that others expected of me.
Right.
And that's kind of what you did. You know, you've lived a life with comedy is more true to yourself.
Right.
I can imagine an alternate, universe where you're lying on your deathbed and there's two of you, and you got the one that's done comedy and you got the one who's stuck with psychology for the rest of your life. You might be regretting, I wish I'd tried taking that risk when I was younger and tried comedy. Because even if I failed, at least now you know.
Yeah, and the comedian on his deathbed is like, "Whoa, I'm beside myself." You know, I'm sure. Still got it, baby. Still got it. Yeah, totally. It is. It is. I'm really glad that I didn't hold back. It is a really rewarding thing when you think about it, because you spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time thinking, "What's next? What's next?" And that's just kind of like good business motivation, because that
growth.
It's growth.
Being a
keeps you going.
comedian is continual growth.
Yeah.
Same with podcasting. Every day, you got to learn from cool people.
Yeah, I got to learn, and I got to expand, and I got to adapt, because the world is changing. Like, we actually have to keep tabs on, oh, how does this work now? How does the algorithm work now? How does social media work now? Oh, Facebook sucks. All right, TikTok, let's go. You know, like that. You can't just, rest on your laurels. So that's really important to stay motivated. Amongst that, you also have to go, hey, I'm doing the thing. Like, I'm stressed, but I'd rather be stressed over something I'm passionate about than stressed about a job that doesn't care about me.
Even if that job pays you more.
Yeah, they don't, a lot of jobs don't care about you. You're just a worker, really. And that's a harsh reality. It is a harsh thing to say, but the accountant at whatever company will go, no, we're not giving you, that holiday leave because we lose too much money, so you got to work that day. We don't care about, that's a reality. There are people just looking at numbers going, oh, we save money if we make people work these days, or if we make people do this extra shift, or that sort of thing. You can get lucky. You can have good bosses. You can have good workplaces, of course. But ultimately, you're serving someone else's business. And so if you can serve your own goals and your own business, then all those little stresses are way more worth it. Like, you're choosing the stress you're okay with. I'm okay to be stressed about not having a gig coming up. Oh my God, when am I going to get another gig? I'm fine with that stress. The stress I don't want is like, oh my God, my boss is really cracking down on me, needs this by a deadline. I don't want that stress. I don't want someone else wants me to submit a report by 4:00. It doesn't affect my life. It doesn't affect their life that much. They're just being, tough on me because they're my boss. I don't want that stress. I don't want to be subservient to someone else. That's me. That's my personality. So I am a big advocate of just appreciating the problems you have.
Yeah, and I think what you said about I would prefer to have stress of not knowing where my next gig will come from. A lot of people would hate that, and fair enough. It's hard. It is very stressful. Same with me. Yeah. Like, I don't know when my next income. I don't have a steady income right now.
Right.
I don't know when my next sponsorship will hit. I'm reaching out. I'm doing things, but there's no guarantee anything will hit. Yeah. And I kind of love that. I love that game as the entrepreneur. Figuring that out. Like, you've got to work to get there.
Sure.
But there are points in my life where I've gone, man, I would love to just have a job. Have the stability of a job. Just have every week I get paid the same amount of money. I know I've got holiday days. I've got super. That's a beautiful thing.
But you need to remember that there are stresses that will come with all that. That you go, oh man, I wish I was just freelance again.
For sure, yeah. And that's a dichotomy,
right?
I
got to stay after work today because we need to get this thing in. And you're like, oh God. And you're stressed at, I have had 9-to-5 jobs. I worked in a hospital in specimen reception, which is like coordinating where all the blood samples go. And I'd be up at 7 and I'd be home at 6:30. And I'd eat and watch an episode of whatever was on TV and go to bed. And that was it. And that, to me, is not a fulfilling life. That wasn't fulfilling for me. So, and that was stressful because, I had to be consistent. I couldn't make mistakes. If mistakes were made, really high intensity situation. And that was a stress that I didn't want. And I was willing to accept the stress of not knowing where my income was coming from to forfeit that.
Yeah.
So choose your choose your stress, really.
Exactly. And I think not knowing when your income is going to come means you've got to innovate. You've got to stay on your toes. You've got to keep...
Right.
Where if you're just got income coming in all the time, you can kind of just keep doing what you're doing because you're getting paid anyway.
Yes.
But when you're working for yourself or you're freelancing, if you're not good, you're not going to get paid.
For sure.
You've got to keep it up.
Yeah.
And it's actually interesting. I hear your thoughts on this. The world is looking like we're heading into more of a freelance model.
Sure.
Most of Gen Z hate the idea of working a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Like, and fair enough. Like, I think it's going to be... I mentioned the benefits before. Of course, there are downsides.
Yeah.
But rather than, if you're a specialist, you're really good at one thing, often a company doesn't need you for 40 hours a week. They only need you for 10.
Yeah.
So would it not make more sense to work for 4 companies and do 10 hours each and
Right.
charge a premium for those 4 companies?
Yeah.
And so that way you're spending 10 hours for each company doing what you're really good at
Yeah.
rather than fluffing around for an extra
Yeah.
30 hours.
Yeah. Not to get too political, but they need to catch up to that system because what the problem currently is that if you're a casual worker, you don't get the same benefits like job security and whatnot. But the reality is, like, companies also would prefer it. It's like, why are we paying 40 hours worth of work when we actually only need them to do 10 hours?
Which is actually realistic.
Yeah.
Some companies literally only need you for 10.
Well, then that's great, and then they should do that. And you as a freelancer, and it's only starting to happen now. I've noticed that I'm being recognized more as a sole trader.
Yeah.
10 years ago, when I was looking for a loan, whenever I was applying for some sort of fund or grant or something like that, I'd say I'm a sole trader, and the banks will go, "Oh, yeah, no, we don't know how to. We can't process that. Sorry." I've literally had that from a bank saying, "Oh, I don't know how to give you this loan because..."
I couldn't get a $10,000 car loan.
Yeah.
Not for... Sorry, it wasn't even for a brand new car. It was for a second-hand car.
Yeah. Yeah, because
I'm a company and I employ myself and all that complicated stuff.
Yes, exactly. And that needs to change. So what I'm hoping is that with the wave of the next generation all being more freelance, that actually it will become easier out of, safety in numbers, basically.
Yeah.
If the sheer amount of people are like, hey, we're all freelancers, can we get paid properly, please? And unfortunately, I think Uber was a problem. Like, Uber doesn't have to pay healthcare to their drivers because they're like, well, we're not really employing them.
Right.
They're freelance. They work as much as they want. But what's unfortunate about that is that, some Uber drivers are working 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And not getting any of the benefits of 9 to 5. So it's really up to the government to create, it's up to us to put pressure on the government to create legislation that allows for what is a way better lifestyle of, let's not, do these bullshit jobs.
What benefits both?
Yeah,
It benefits
exactly.
the companies.
Benefits everyone.
The
Yeah.
companies get way more productivity for far less hours.
Yeah,
So they're paying you for 10 hours to get 10 hours of work.
yeah,
And then they can employ other people.
Yeah.
And then the other people, you get paid more for your 10 hours of work and you're actually working
Yeah.
on something. And the caveat is, because you're contracting, if you're not getting benefits,
Yeah.
you got to be smart with your money.
yes.
You're not getting super, you're not getting sick days, you're not getting holiday days.
Yeah,
You're getting paid a lot more money. You need to save that money yourself.
yes.
You need to be putting aside money for holidays, putting aside money for your super, putting aside money for sick days and whatever.
Totally.
Which is what I have to do as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I got to put money away for tax as well.
And the information's out there.
Yeah.
Like, start with the Barefoot Investor. That's
Yeah.
the basic.
Yeah.
And then go as in depth as you want. The information to do it is out there, and it is accessible. And how easy it is actually mind-boggling to people, because people go, "Wow, how do you balance?" All the, not knowing when your money's coming in and whatnot. I'm like, I have an Excel spreadsheet. I put in my income for the month and my expenses for the month, and I can tell when I'm going to run out of money. Oh, I've got enough money to survive till June. If I don't get a single gig for the next 6 months, I will survive. I've got 6 months to book more shows, right? In some of the early days, it would be like, oh God, I got 2 weeks to get,
Do you know what the average Australian is?
What's that?
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. I'm way ahead of that now,
Yeah.
because I have this spreadsheet and I just put in my expenses and go, right, okay, I spend about this much on Uber, this much on food, this much on whatever. And then if I want to buy something, like I'm like, I want new jeans, I'll put it into the spreadsheet. And if it doesn't destroy my, income stream for the next, couple of months,
Yeah.
like, all right, if I buy these jeans, I can still survive till, March. Well, that's fine. I got heaps of time. I'll buy these jeans. So it's really not hard.
Yeah, and look, even easier. There's apps like WeMoney,
Oh,
which is like
exactly.
where it just connects straight to your bank account.
Don't even spend your money. I'm telling
and
you,
it
there's even easier ways.
It
Yes.
filters it all, so it
Yeah.
categorizes everything.
Yeah.
That's a great app that I use.
Yeah.
You can do it through a spreadsheet. There's templates that you can
Yeah.
use. This is, if you know my show at all, financial management is a big part of the show because I
Right.
think it's so crucially important that we
It's huge.
have managed our finance, especially if you're heading into a freelance model.
Yeah.
If you want to contract, if you want to freelance, you need to have control of your finances because right now
Right.
legislations haven't been put in place and you're susceptible. If you break your leg and you can't work for 3 months,
Yeah.
do you have the foundations in place that you can survive?
Yeah, and put your own insurance and work cover in. I'm a performer. I need public liability. So if I'm on stage and someone tries to come on stage, trips and falls, I could be liable to millions of dollars if I don't have the right insurance. So every year, it's in my spreadsheet.
It's not that expensive.
It's not that expensive. Just pay for it, and you're not going to be liable to millions of dollars if someone hurts themselves, or you hurt yourself,
Yeah.
or you're sick, or you lose money. That stuff's really important, and it'll take you like a day to sit down and go, all right, what program do I like? Do I just want to do it on a spreadsheet or that app that you said? Oh, great. And you put it all in there. It really doesn't take long to set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that long.
Yeah. Look, do a spreadsheet. WeMoney was the app. I recommend
WeMoney sounds great.
It's free.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost you anything.
Incredible.
You can connect it to your bank accounts instantly.
Yeah.
I think even most bank apps have budgeting tools within the apps now.
They're starting to do it, yeah.
They're not that
exactly.
good, but they're developing them.
They're
and so
enough.
They're going to
Yeah.
get good.
Yeah, they're slowly getting better because businesses don't always have like the name of the business. When you buy something, like you buy something and you look on your statement,
Yeah.
and it's like Jimmy's. You're like, who's
It's
Jimmy's?
super
What
annoying.
was that? Yeah, but they're getting better at now categorizing it. So all of a sudden, we'll just be paying for everything on our cards, and it's all done for us. you
Well,
know?
that's what I love about WeMoney. I'm not trying to promote the app. It sounds like I'm trying to promote the app here.
We should get them sponsored.
I know,
Just,
I
yeah.
should. But basically, they have a section where it shows your recurring revenue, so your Netflix
Right.
subscription, and you can just go through and see them all. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I forgot about that. I forgot I was spending
Yeah.
money on all these different things. It was like, because they're very small. It's like $8 a month, $10 a month, $15 a month. But it adds up when you've got,
Yeah.
30 of them.
Yeah, totally.
Multiply it over 12 months a year.
Yeah.
You're looking at a few $1,000s.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, oh, that's why I can't afford rent. So if you get rid of all of them, you're like, wait a sec, I can actually live an extra 2 months now.
Yeah.
Because I just went through and got rid of all these subscriptions
Yeah.
that I don't even watch.
Yeah.
So
And that's where you're making an investment in yourself.
yes.
And this is like, for me, I'm willing to sacrifice that sort of stuff short term because I
Yeah.
know if I put all my time and effort into the podcast, building this brand, speaking at schools for free,
Yeah.
I'm doing this coaching program for free. I'm doing so many free things right now that could make lots of money long term in the future.
yes.
But right now, I'm moved back with my parents. Everything you said, I've done. I've moved back home. It's not a sacrifice. I love my parents, and that's once again a privilege.
Yeah.
But by making these sacrifices early, you can reap the rewards
Totally.
later on.
Totally. It is people like seeing people who are busy, right? There's this thing in our society, if people appear to be doing things, people are attracted to that.
It's a flex.
So
I worked 50 hours this week. I worked 60.
Yeah. But if you're like, hey, I'm doing a podcast, I've got my podcast, another podcast is out, people are like, oh man, Byron's busy. He's doing this podcast. And all of a sudden someone will go, hey man, can I sponsor your podcast? It looks like it's going, great. That only happens if you throw yourself into the job, right? Into the passion. So people see me doing stand-up and they're like, oh, can you come do my party? Oh, can you come do my corporate gig? They see that I'm busy. Now, if I never took the risk of doing stand-up and not, making money and quitting my job, people never would have seen me doing it. They saw me doing free gigs and then they said, I want you to do a gig. And that's when the money came. So the free stuff is a way to prove to people you're actively doing it. People are very attracted to active people. Like, for example, take two actors, right? One is on Neighbours and does guest appearances on comedy shows and on Dancing with the Stars and things like that. The other one is hasn't got any jobs right now. They're both exactly the same talent level. Who do you think is going to be offered a job? The one who's available?
Yeah.
Like they go, hey, I'm available. Could you want to give me a job? They go, no, let's give the one who's busy. Look how busy they are. They're doing heaps. People want to give more work to the people who are already working.
It's scarcity.
It's crazy, right? It's crazy to think that this actor's available. They're very good. No, I don't want the available one. I want the busy one.
It's a sales tactic, scarcity, right? And in the best example I can think of is Supreme. You know Supreme?
Right,
When they
yes.
release new clothing, it's like you have to line up outside and buy it. And it's a
Right.
one-time offer.
Yeah.
So people line up for they'll sit outside like an Apple store.
Right.
They'll sit outside it for a day. They'll camp outside because they want to pay $500 for a t-shirt because
it's insane.
scarcity.
Yeah, it's insane. But that is a good reminder of just do the thing you want to do. Oh, I'm not being paid for it right now. That's fine.
Yeah.
People will see you doing it.
Yeah.
Do it as much as possible. If you want to be an actor, it's really hard, right? Because a lot of the time you're waiting for someone to give you work. Like, I auditioned. How do I get that job? I auditioned.
You're waiting for your agent.
You're waiting for your agent. You're waiting for, the casting director to, approve you, that sort of thing. My advice to actors is put your own play on. Find a writer. Just make it look like you're constantly working. And people go, wow, you're working? Well, let me give you more work.
Go onto TikTok and start doing acting challenges on TikTok.
Yeah,
Start putting out content.
Everything,
Once
yeah.
again, you're going to be the same level as someone in your class who isn't doing that.
Yeah.
But if we had the option to
Yeah.
choose, do
Yeah.
we choose the actor who's got 50,000 followers and around their acting brand on TikTok?
Totally.
Or do you choose the actor who's sitting at home watching Netflix?
Going,
And-
I'm available.
Look, I'm free.
It is. And if you say, well, I don't want to work for free, it's like if you actually love the thing you're doing,
Yeah.
you will be happy to. I am 10 years, nearly 11 years into stand-up comedy. I did a free gig on Monday. Why? Because I like it. I love doing stand-up. I got to work on some new material. I got to hang out with my comedian colleagues. It was awesome. It was one of my favorite things to do stand-up.
Yeah.
I made $0 out of it, but it was, in fact, I paid $7 for parking to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have to do free gigs anymore. I get paid, plenty to do stand-up, but I still want to do it for free. So, even if, you think, all right, I'll happily do it for free for a time, but then, I definitely want to get paid. Like, well, be okay with, your revenue dropping in a few years' time and still sticking it out. Like you gotta just, if you love the thing you're doing, then the money won't be the most important thing.
It's like me, right? Like I just started doing sponsored episodes
Right.
where they pay to come on and we promote their brand and we still
Right.
provide value and stuff. 90 to 99% will still be free episodes
Right.
because I just love it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, big time.
and look, I want to monetize it outside of the podcast so
Yeah.
that I can just continue to do free episodes and stuff because I don't want to do paid. Like obviously it's beneficial, but I just love doing free one. And if I met someone who I thought was really cool, I could have a great conversation with them and they could provide value, but I wouldn't have them on unless they paid me. It's like, what? No.
Yeah.
I'll just have them on. Come on.
Yeah.
And look, with sponsorships, I only want to bring on people I would have on for free anyway.
Right.
Well, don't tell them that.
Right. That's a great point. Is, are you willing to do your passion for free? If not, well, then it's not really your passion.
Yeah. And look, and by doing it for free, as you mentioned, you'll get experience.
Yeah.
You're going to build your portfolio.
Yeah.
There's so many other benefits to it as
Yeah.
well.
You also keep the skill sharp.
Yeah.
And you should just inherently enjoy it. It's challenging. Even if it's uncomfortable, discomfort is good. Discomfort, allows you to recalibrate and go, oh, okay, I'm doing it this way. I did a free gig and it was really brutal and, I'm not going to do it that way again,
Because there is no winning or losing, just winning or learning.
winning and learning.
If you screw up an event, it's going to suck short term, but long term you've learned from that. And now when you're doing a massive event, you're not going to make that mistake.
Well, that's a big one for public speaking in general. People go, what if I, bomb?
Yeah.
What if no one laughs, no one applauds, or what if it's terrible? My question is it the last time you ever do it? If it's the last time you ever do a gig and it's a bomb, then you should feel bad. But it's not. Just go do another gig. You know, the same with public speaking. Like, I did this, talk and it was really embarrassing. All right, do another talk. Wash it off with the next gig. That's what I say. So if you want to be in an industry, it's ongoing. It's not one event. It's not, let's see if I can do this. Oh, it failed, the end. If it fails, great. Next time, you can prepare for that.
Failure is crucial.
It's so crucial, and you just got to just do the next one.
Yeah.
And it's the same with social media as well. I posted a video, didn't get any likes. Okay, what, are you going to quit social media forever now? You never have that avenue for your business? No, all right, post another video. That one got negative comments. All right, post another video. It's okay to keep going. Learn, don't dismiss things.
Oh, yeah,
but
for sure.
learn, but just keep doing the next thing.
It's the social media example's a big one because that's the world I'm in, right? And
Right.
the key, I talk to a lot of social media people. People are always asking me questions about TikTok and stuff.
Right.
How do you grow on TikTok? How do you do this stuff? Look, there's a few things. The key thing that comes up between all the creators I've met is consistency.
Yeah,
You just got to be consistent.
yeah,
You just got to keep at it.
yeah.
If you have the expectation you're gonna go viral in your first video, when that's not met, you're gonna be disappointed.
Yeah.
If you have no expectations and you're just posting,
And even if you do, like my first video on TikTok got like 110,000 views.
Wow.
I'm like, wow, great. But then I didn't keep it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So even if you do go viral on your first video, what use is it if you're not capitalizing on that momentum? So if you want to be making TikTok videos, do it if you're happy to be consistent.
yeah. And
But if you're expecting results from one go, even if you get those results, they won't stay.
And TikTok is one of the toughest platforms to build a consistent brand on because
Right.
unlike YouTube, like on YouTube, usually once you put up videos and stuff, people will go through and you'll consistently get views throughout all your videos and stuff.
Right.
With TikTok, if you don't have a video that, like for me, if I go a week without having a viral video, my account drops a lot.
Right.
I'll go from earning, hundreds of followers a day, if not over 1,000 followers a day.
Right.
If none of my videos hit that week, I'll be down to 20, 30.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So it's like the second I stop, my account dies.
Right.
So you've got to be consistent. I've got to
Yeah.
be going every single
Yeah,
day
I
posting.
found that. That's exactly what I found.
And so that's super discouraging.
yeah.
If you're posting and you can't be consistent with your content, you get a little bit burnt out. That's totally fine. That's what happens.
yeah.
But that's the hard part. Everyone glorifies influencers
Yeah.
and people online. They think, they've got it so easy. They get paid all this money. Very, very few do. And it's
Yeah.
not easy. It's a grind.
Yeah,
It's a
if they take
massive
their foot
grind.
off the pedal. This is what I go back to. You have to be enjoying it.
You have to be intrinsically motivated.
Yeah, because if you are like, I'm only doing this to get, famous, or I'm only doing this to get, lots of money or make my business skyrocket, well then, just so you know, you're going to have to be doing it all the time for ages. Like you have to be okay with posting TikTok every day or every other day or whatever. You got to find some enjoyment in it and pleasure, because if you're doing it and it's painful,
You're not going to last.
you're not going to last, because you got to keep doing it.
Not only do you have to be posting consistently, you have to be innovating as well.
Right.
Trends. Every day there's a new trend. There's new stuff going on
yeah.
TikTok, new music, new formats.
Right.
Facebook's just released, Apple's released a new privacy policy,
Right.
which is making advertising hard. Like Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts is coming out. You might not even have heard of that.
Yep.
YouTube's bought out TikTok competitor.
Yep.
Snapchat has
Seen
one
it,
now.
yeah.
Like it's just the speed of which this stuff changes. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. You stay asleep for 6 months.
Yeah.
Actually, my
It's a
mate,
different world, yeah.
my mate Luke, actually, to call him out, he stopped posting on TikTok for about 6 months. He just went in a bit of a hiatus from social media, which is fine. But then I was getting him back into it, and he started posting on Instagram Reels, and he's had massive success there, over 60,000 followers in a short amount of time. But his TikTok account's dead,
Right.
completely dead. He stopped for a period of time.
Why didn't he just put the same videos up?
Well, yeah, he looks back and goes, "Oh, that was silly of me." But
Yeah.
he's more focused on Instagram Reels, also because he's an Indian audience. He's a travel vlogger,
Right.
and India lost TikTok,
oh, right.
and so I guess he's pivoted to Instagram Reels. However, he started posting on TikTok, and he's just not getting anything because his
Right.
account's dead.
Right.
Now, obviously, he's still got an account that's going really well, but it just highlights if you stop, you can drown. Like being an influencer or being a content creator, being a comedian and all that stuff, it's so much consistent innovation,
Yeah.
which I love because I think the
It's
worst...
a puzzle to solve, right?
It's a puzzle to solve. And I think the worst thing for me would be working in the same job, doing the same thing for 20 years.
Yeah.
Because that's not 20 years experience. It's 3 years of experience repeated for 17
Right,
years.
exactly,
Right?
yeah.
And one of the 6 human needs is, growth.
Yeah.
You need to have growth in
Mm.
your life. Otherwise, I think you need to have growth. And I think
Yeah.
there are jobs in the creative industry often provide that
Yeah.
at the sacrifice of financial gain.
Well, a good example is this great documentary, Jiro Dreams of Sushi. And this is the dude who's been making sushi for like 50 years. And the dude is still trying to improve the recipe. And that's a perfect example of, you think it's just repetitive, same thing every day.
Yeah.
Cut sushi, put on a plate. No, he's like, what if we did this? What if we actually, massaged the octopus a bit longer? What if we marinated it this way? What if we... At that age, he's still like refining and innovating. And that is a perfect example of, whatever you're doing, there is room to grow.
It's a master working on his craft.
It's incredible.
Yeah, amazing. Simon, this has been great. And before we wrap up, I always ask every guest one final question.
Yep.
Especially, what would your number one piece of advice be for the younger generation? It can be completely unrelated to what we've spoken about. But, 16 to 22, what advice would you give them?
Become okay with not making everyone happy.
Mm.
I spent a long time trying to be likable to everyone, trying to be accepted in every circle, and it's just so emotionally draining. And be kind to everyone, but also only give people energy if they're giving you positive energy back. If you're getting negative energy from someone, you can go, how do I win them over? And I think I've spent a bit too long doing that, too much time doing that. Good example as a stand-up comedian is you've got a room full of people laughing and one person is sitting there with their arms crossed, looking disgruntled, and you go, oh no. Oh, I feel so bad. I didn't make that one person laugh. You don't know what they're going through. Maybe they're having a bad day or whatever. Maybe that's just, not their thing, and that's okay. So be okay with not making everyone happy. Do your best, but if you don't succeed in making, one customer happy or one business partner happy, that's okay. You got to be okay with that.
Yeah, and it's such a good point, especially with social media today, because we don't just want to make our immediate friends happy. We want to make thousands of people that we've never met happy because we want them to like our photos or TikTok or whatever platform it is. We want to make so many people happy that we don't even know who they are.
Yes, exactly. And you will only become kind of you only attend to the negative ones. So you can look at a comment feed on YouTube or whatever, you read through, you post a video, you read through, 99 of them say, this is great, this is cool. You just scroll past them. One person goes, oh, you're an idiot, your hair looks dumb. And you go, how dare you? Why are you giving that dude energy? It is really hard not to, right? Because you get an emotional flood. So this is probably good advice as well. Recognize when you get an emotional flood. If someone heckles you, online, oh, this sucks, or you're this, or you're that, or says something horrible, go, oh, I'm flooding now. This person has tried to make me emotionally flood. Let the flood subside. What is the value in responding? What is the value of giving more energy to this? None. Can't make everyone happy. 99 people really love this. I'm going to make content for them.
And I was going to say, to be honest, I don't know if you would agree with this. I think it's disrespectful to give them energy when you've got all these people trying to give you positive energy.
Super disrespectful, but it's just it's an emotional knee-jerk reaction, and you have to catch yourself out and go, wait, I'm being emotional.
For sure.
Give it a sec. Who's more important, this random troll or the other people who genuinely spent the energy being positive towards me?
Yeah, and look, and most people, it's easier to leave a negative comment than a positive one because they'll see it and they'll say, oh, bang. Yeah. And I've spoken about this before. I've never in my life left a negative comment on someone. Right. I don't know who's doing this. I don't know.
Who are these
young people who grew up? This is a world they're growing up in, and that's why they're doing it. I don't know. But anyways, for anyone who wants to find out more, obviously, so we've got your book, which I'll mention in the intro, One Night Stand. If anyone wants to find that book or connect with you on Instagram, or where's the best place to go online or to find out more?
SimonTaylorFunnyBoy.com.
Yeah,
and that'll have everything there.
That's got all the links.
Yep.
So you got the book, fictional story about a comedian, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that's a great place to probably check out.
Yeah, he's a dude who, there's a chapter where he can't afford to go interstate, so he has to apply for a job at a restaurant.
There you go.
And he's like, I don't want to do this, I want to be a stand-up. So a lot of the struggle of starting out as a stand-up is in this book. So a lot of the stuff we spoke about today of taking that risk, this main character does. So a lot of it's in there.
Yeah, awesome. So guys, if you resonated with Simon, check out the book, go to that website, see what he's got there. Otherwise, Simon, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Cheers, Byron.
Thanks so much for listening to this entire episode. That is crazy you decided to stick around for so long. I hope you got some value out of that episode, and I just wanted to let you know, if you are enjoying the show, but you want to take your learning to the next level, I'm running a 6-week coaching program specifically for the listeners of this show. Over 6 weeks, we cover how I have grown my network and met so many amazing people, how to organize your money and invest. I help you figure out what you want to do with your life and give you some career guidance. We do goal setting and set you up with some awesome goals and so much more. I keep these groups very, very small, so you all get some one-on-one time with me personally. And if you're interested and want to find out more or apply, just go to www.drivenyoung.com/coach. That is www.drivenyoung.com/coach. The link is in the show notes below. Otherwise, thank you so much for listening to this episode. It's so awesome you stayed all the way to the end. I love you and all the best.